Welcome to the Creative Plan Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews of items, and convention panels, and other exciting things that we run into from time to time. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and rpgpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Hey guys, it's Jim here with Creative Plan Podcast Network. I've got a good friend back on the podcast again because I heard he's got a secret little project coming up. So I asked my good friend John Paul Ried here to come on the Creative Plan Podcast Network and give us the skinny on what projects he's up to. Hey, John.
Hello, how you doing, Jim? I'm delighted to be here, and I'm always thrilled to be part of your podcast. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, well, thanks for joining me. You know, you're always welcome here. So
Thank
John,
you.
For those folks at home that may not know who you are, give us a quick overview of who is the one, the only,
oh dear,
John Paul Ried.
Well, let's see. I grew up in New Jersey, and yes, I used to talk like this. I used to have a big, thick New Jersey accent. Oh yeah, or used guys, and oh yeah, Toyd and Toyd Avenue and the Blanc. Oh yeah, I used to talk like that. I've been living in Phoenix for about 6 years now, and I'm I'm single, though. Actually, by choice. I'm glad to sort of live by myself with just my cat. And by the way, my cat's named Enlil. Yes, after one of my characters in my books. Anyway, what else do people want to know about me? I love to write. I have 4 fantasy books out already. I'm expecting my 5th one to be out by the end of September 2019. I have been, career-wise, I've been a fundraiser for many years. I've been a teacher for many years. And now I'm actually a telemarketer. I've done telemarketing on and off for 4 or 5 years now, scattered over the last 10 years. So I keep myself busy, and best of all, I work with amazing people, and finally, I play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition whenever I get the chance, and I've created my own over 45 years of playing D&D, and yes, I'm only 53, so I started playing D&D when I was 8. Over 45 years of playing D&D, I have developed my own Palamaran dimensional plane, an entire plane of existence for my games, and the main planet has 3 continents, not including the Underdark. And again, I have amazing detail for a lot of my things. And anyone reading my books, usually they're amazed at the maps and the references. And whenever a town or a city or a place is mentioned in any of my books, it's like, wow, I can find that on the map. Here it is. You know, and I'm obsessed with the detail because, well, quite frankly, someday at a comic book convention, I'll be doing a panel and somebody will ask me, well, gee, Tabraz and this other city are too far apart. How could they get there in 8 days? And I'm like, but you forgot. They had a teleportation spell that cut the distance down. That sort of detail. Let's face it, Jim, that sort of detail is important to fans and people like that.
Oh.
Finally, I love comic books. I'm a Marvel Comics fan. My favorite, of course, is Doctor Strange. I've been reading Doctor Strange ever since before I could read. Prince Namor the Submariner is second, and Ghost Rider is third. Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider. And, of course, Daredevil is right after that. Those are my top 4. Oh, yes. Well, of course. I love cats, and I'm always glad to have a cat in my life. Now I'll be quiet. Did I answer that?
Yes, I think we got a good overview there. So,
okay.
So one thing I wanted to know is because I know where you're going to be come November this year. You're going to be down here in Tucson for Tucson Comic Con, right?
I'm working on it. I only have two problems or two issues before I can go down to Tucson Comic Con. One, I need a place to stay. It doesn't have to be fancy. Even a sofa or even a living room floor. I can bring a sleeping bag. I need a place to stay, and I'm still working on securing a table for that convention. But I believe I can get all this done within the next month or so. Yeah. So I am planning to come down for Tucson Comic Con. I have not yet had a chance to go to the other one, Tucson, which I got to admit that is pretty creative. Tucson, Tucson. But okay, right. Now, do you go to that one too, James?
Yeah, we hit Tucson every year because it's a bunch of our friends are on the board as well, so we definitely want to hang out with our friends. One that you also might like that's down here in Tucson at the second week of October is RingCon, which is our local gaming convention for tabletop gaming.
Cool.
That could be one that you might enjoy if you can come on down here for that. Of course, that's like a lot of cons back to back to back in October.
Yes, but anything is possible. Though I do have a bit of a schedule. Good heavens, I'm not even sure where to start. But do you want me to go over my upcoming schedule immediately?
Sure. What events are you going to be going to soon?
Well, okay, coming up in August, I am doing Maricopa Con. What is Maricopa Con? A very dear friend of mine, Jason Youngdale, I actually co-dedicated book 3 of mine, Pivotal Ruckus, to two friends, Jason Youngdale and David Hughes. But anyway, Jason Youngdale runs his own private convention here in Phoenix. It's called Maricopa Con. It's held in Mesa, Arizona every year. It's been going on for about 7 years now. For some bizarre reason I don't understand, but I roll with whatever Jason wants. He keeps the convention small, only 2,000 or 3,000 people. But all of his friends, we all get together and game, and we all have an event at Mesa Convention Center. I'm afraid it is already sold out now, but I'm going to this August 24th, 25th, or is it 25th, 26th? That weekend in August. Yeah. After that, Patty Holstrom and I, we are going to Kingman, Arizona. Yay, Kingman. And Kingman, Arizona, they're having their own convention. It is called, I want to pronounce this right, Kabam. I keep wanting to say Shazam, but it's Kabam. K is in kite, A-B-A-M, Kabam. Festival and Writers Conference. This is on September 20th. It is hosted by the Kingman Area Books Are Magic Festival. So the Books Are Magic Festival is actually running and hosting this Kabam Festival and Writers Conference in Kingman, Arizona, September 20th. All right, it's August, September. I'm desperately hoping I don't forget anything. And good heavens, I can't believe what I almost forgot. The Saturday after, I should say the Kingman Kabam, I think, is going all weekend, September 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Well, the Saturday after our trip to Kabam, I'm going to have my next book premiere. My next book premiere will be Saturday, the 28th, on it'll be again at Glendale, Arizona, at Imperial Outpost Games. Darren Johnson and his wonderful staff there, led by Joe, and I'm blanking on Joe's last name, but they've graciously allowed me to set up another book premiere where I will be premiering a brand new book, yes, set in Palamar, but a different continent, 2,500 years earlier, and the focus is very different. This series is going to be called Palamaran Legends and Heroes. Palamaran Legends and Heroes. And the first volume is entitled Unexpected Entanglements. But I will be premiering this book on September 28th, Saturday, 2019, at Imperial Outpost Games in Glendale, Arizona. It's right near ASU's Western Campus on Thunderbird Road, right near 51st Avenue. I think I think it's between 49th and 50th. It's right. You could walk from 51st Avenue and Thunderbird right to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, I've done August, I've done September. I have tentatively 2 events scheduled for October. There's a Mesa Arts Festival, or excuse me, is that a First Friday? Mesa Arts Festival and Mesa First Fridays. They're both hosted by the Mesa Chamber of Commerce in Mesa, Arizona. And they have everything there. They have artists, they have jewelry makers, chocolate makers, candle makers, books. It's really arts and crafts. And the only catch is you can only sell stuff that you make or create. Guess what? I can sell my books all I want because they're my books. I wrote them. You see how that works?
Exactly. That's exactly how it's supposed to work.
Right. And then, of course, finally, November, Tucson Comic-Con, definitely. Tucson, if I can swing it. Probably not, though. I probably will only be able to make one. Well, I'm looking ahead. I think I've covered all the major events I'm going to be doing. There was one other event coming up. I'm trying to remember. It was at the very end of July. I'm not sure if it's tied in with the Renaissance Festival that just started. The SCA group here, the Society for Creative Anachronism, the Kingdom of Attenville. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've been invited to do stuff with them too. So I really have quite a busy summer and fall coming up.
Yeah, because I just heard from some friends the Ren Fair is in Payson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got lots of friends who enjoy the Ren Fair. Whether it's the big one in Phoenix, in the beginning of the year, or if it's the little ones that are scattered throughout the country, which we love to get away to.
Right. Yeah. And I can hear it now. Patty Holstrom, when she hears this podcast, she'll call me and she'll be like, "John, you forgot this event and that event," and I'll be like, "Oh." But okay, yes, those are the upcoming events that I have covered. I covered August, covered September, covered October and November. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So is there anyone you'd like to do a shout out for or say thank you to?
Oh yes, absolutely. Jim, I would not be able to get my books done without some amazing people. First off, Patty Holstrom, my publisher. She is the owner, proprietor, and editor and CEO of Arizona Publishing LLC. They're the ones. There's my label, if you will. I know I'm not a singer and I don't have records or CDs, but if I can use the expression, Arizona Publishing is my label. Right. And without her editing and her guidance, I wouldn't be able to get any of my books out at all. Next, Laura Thompson. Laura Thompson is a very dear friend of mine. I told the story at an earlier podcast about how I invited her to play D&D with my group when I was still running games in Illinois, and how she just fell in love with everything. She dove into Dungeons and Dragons. She's like, "Wow, this is great." She even ran out and started watching Lord of the Rings movies, and I really got her hooked. I really turned her into a fantasy junkie. I shouldn't joke like that, should I? I'm sorry, Jim. Anyway, but yes, Laura is my principal editor. Laura and I actually write together. I'll write a chapter. I'll send a chapter to her. She'll read it. She'll be like, "Wow, this is great. Here are a couple of plot ideas. Here's some grammar." She does the proofreading. And then we get it all set for Patty, who, of course, goes over everything and has the final say and stuff. Okay, let me be shorter. Next, Chris Ennett and David Delancey. These are the cover artists that design all of my covers for all of my books. I am very blessed, Jim. These guys are Zenescope comic book artists, and I'm blessed that they do the covers for my books. Their art is superb. Chris Ennett is the sketcher, the etcher, or he draws out the whole cover in pencil, okay? Mm-hmm. The whole thing in pencil. Then David Delancey, with layers and layers and layers and layers, he is the inker, the colorer, and what I think is called the three Chris's pencil, the detailed pencil drawing, and he will he will make them with all the colors, with the shadows, and even almost a 3D dimension, with like layer upon layer upon layer. If anyone is familiar with my Academic Mayhem Book 4 cover, we actually have a woman being transformed by magic on the cover with lightning and everything.
It's an amazing particle effect he did.
Yes, exactly. And that so Chris Ennett and David Delante, those guys are my artists. I recommend them to anyone. I mean, you won't find more skilled artists, and they can do it both on of course on canvas or in print, but they can do everything also on the computer, what do they call it? The graphic design stuff. Yeah. And between you and me, Jim, I can't draw a straight line to save my life. So I'm
I
very,
completely
lucky
understand that frustration.
Anyway, okay, I'm almost done, believe it or not. Next, I want to thank Steve Crompton. Here's a man who actually helped write the Grimtooth's Traps books way back in the 80s when Grimtooth's Traps were like the coolest traps out there, and I still think they are. He runs a company called Flying Buffalo. He's also been involved with the Judges Guild material, City State of the Invincible Overlord, Fortress of Madagascar. Anyway, he designs my maps. My map of Palamar with the main continent. He did that for me. He's also done the continent that's been in all my books so far is the southern continent. He has done the western continent for me, and my new book coming out in September will be located in the western continent, and it'll be in my books. It'll be up on my website. Anyone can download these maps for free. But Stephen Crompton, he takes what I do. I design the maps. I decide, rivers, mountains, cities, all I do the maps, but he takes them, streamlines them, and makes them look professional. When I do it, they look like a fourth grader's science diorama. But Steve Crompton, he takes my maps and makes them special, and he makes them in black and white, and gray. Perfect for copying into a book.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so Steve Crompton. Finally, I wish to shout out to my executive board, PALC, the Palamar and Adventures LLC. This is my marketing company. This is the company I use to market and distribute my books. I have 5 investors. I'll list them very quickly. Laura Thompson, big surprise, John McDougall, David Hughes, my sister Jody Reed, her married name was Langenbach, so Jody Reed Langenbach, and she's divorced now, so and of course Pam Noyes. Pam Noyes is a marvelous lady who lives in Las Vegas. She and her family and David Hughes, who also live in Las Vegas, they also put me up whenever I go up for Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. That's my big Comic-Con of the year. Would you believe every year for the last 4 years at Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con, I sell 50 to 60 books, and I'm usually done by before the end of Saturday.
See, that's awesome. I mean, and you get to go to Vegas. I mean,
yeah,
it's a win-win.
Yeah. It's treason against where I live, Phoenix, with Phoenix Fan Fusion. But I got to say it, I sell far more books at Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con than I do even here with Phoenix Fan Fusion. And no blame, no body, just that's how it is. Anyway, okay, I believe I've thanked everyone. And, I also want to thank my cat, Ennelin. Whenever I'm getting all worked up, whenever I'm getting too excited, whenever I'm getting too tense and nervous, it is Ennelin who reminds me, John, chill out, relax, calm down. Everything will be okay. Now shut up and feed me, or shut up and let me outside, or shut up and scratch my back. And yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about you. I don't know if you can hear him meowing. But anyway, okay. thank you, Jim, for letting me do those shout-outs. I hope I
Oh,
didn't take up too much time with that. Yeah.
no problem. No problem. Hey, I know how it is about, especially with the pets, that just having them to be there is a huge comfort. I mean,
Yes.
we've got 3 cats and 2 dogs now, so I don't
Yep.
remember what comfort is with only having one pet. I miss those days.
well, what's really funny is, again, if people are familiar with my books, my second book, Capricious Deities,
Mm-hmm.
in the scene that's portrayed on the cover, there was a cat. And Chris Ennett and David Delancey, they contacted me and said, hey, do you have a cat? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And they're like, send us pictures. I did. And they put the back of my cat on the cover.
Aww.
That's really how that's exactly him. so Enlin's been immortalized on my book too. Anyway, yes. Well, awesome, Jim. And what would you like to chat about now?
So really quickly, because we're, of course, we've been talking about book 5, which is a different storyline. So your first book, Reckless Ambitions, the Medford Family Chronicles, book 1.
Yes.
What is a quick overview for that one? How would you sum that up for someone that, by the way, it is on Amazon for both Kindle and paperback,
and on Goodreads and on several other ebook platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And let me sum up all 4 books,
Okay.
and I'm going to do it in just 3 or 4 sentences each book. Ready?
Oh.
Okay. Here we go. 1, Reckless Ambitions is very much my political intrigue, plotting, and assassination book with who's going to become Emperor Palamar, who's going to get killed, will this plot work? Oh my goodness, that plot failed. Oh boy, what a disaster. So that's book 1. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep. So how about
book
Capricious Deities?
Book 2, Capricious Deities. That book is my big Civil War book. It's where you got armies marching around with the cavalry and infantry units, with everybody colliding in a very unlikely place. Yes, I was using Gettysburg as a template where 2 armies are moving closer together and they're really not sure where they're going to end up. And all of a sudden, wham! Oh, we're grabbing Hollow. Quick, guys, charge! Everybody runs together for that. So, yes, my book 2 is my big Civil War with battlefields, armies. I take a page out of the Trojan War and bring an evil, nasty deity, an immortal god to the battlefield who's like, I don't care if it's a bad idea to interfere with humans. I want to rule this place. Here I am. And then you can read and find out what happens to him. But yeah, that's book 2, Capricious Deities.
Mm-hmm. And then how about Pivotal Ruckus, book 3?
Pivotal Ruckus. Pivotal Ruckus, many critics have said, is probably my finest book, only because it has such a wide variety. But Pivotal Ruckus is my sea fight. It's my big sea invasion with pirates and wooden ships and iron men, and 2 big, tough, ancient dragons, a purple dragon, lawful evil, breath weapon, laser beam, versus a red dragon, chaotic evil, fire is their breath weapon. Think Smog, and you've got Frederick Firestorm. But Frederick Firestorm and Kildarius Sharpclaw end up fighting during this big sea invasion. And it's funny. Kildarius Sharpclaw does not know what to do with herself. She's fallen in love with a human farmer. And this changes everything for her, the outcome of the fight. And Pivotal Ruckus is like a huge culmination of like 8 or 9 different plot lines that all just slam together and get resolved. I'm very proud of Pivotal Ruckus.
If you stick with it, it does come out at the end, believe it or not. And when you're reading through it, you don't think it's going to wrap up by the end.
And then surprise, it does. Yes. And it does in a big way that nobody expects. It's like, oh, wow. And I even steal that line from Sir Laurence Olivier, Clash of the Titans, awaken, release the Kraken. Okay. And of course, I got a lot of gods and goddesses running around there too, placing bets on all sorts of things. So yeah, It's a fun book. But next one. Do you remember the title?
Academic Mayhem.
Yes. Now, Academic Mayhem. Academic Mayhem. This is going to sound weird after what I said about Pivotal Records, but Academic Mayhem is actually my personal favorite. It's the next generation. It's 26 years after Pivotal Records. I should point out, books 1, 2, and 3 all happen within like 3 years of each other. 481 to 483 BC, CE, Common Era. So yes, by the way, I have a calendar stretching 5,000 years. I can tell you who's emperor, what's going on in different time periods, and it's great for future books, because if I want to set a book 2,500 years in the past in another continent, I'm like, aha, I know exactly what's happening. But anyway, okay. But getting back to Academic Mayhem. Academic Mayhem is a coming-of-age story. Octavian Oakley, he's 26 years old, and his parents, they treat him like a child. They won't let him off the island. You're too young, Octavian. Wait until you're 250 years old. But Mom, I want to explore the planet. Well, why is Octavian so young at age 26? He's a dragon. For you and me, age 26, we're grown up. A 26-year-old dragon is literally a toddler. But hey, you got to change the diaper, So anyway, it's the story of Octavian Oakley, how he finally strikes out on his own, and he joins, of all places, the Game Masters University. Anyone reading my books realizes the Game Masters University is very much like parallel to the Psi Corps in Babylon 5. We'll give you everything you want. You want to learn magic, you want to learn spells, you want your own tower, you want your own dungeon, you want to be a ruler of a kingdom. Sure, we'll help you get all of that. The only catch is you have to do whatever we tell you whenever we tell you to.
A small price to pay for unlimited power.
Right. Just so long as you obey your GMU professors when they want you to do something. Yeah. And by the way, God's help you if you don't. Oh, you want 100 wizards coming down on you with all their spells and destroying you? No. So, yeah. So it's sort of like, we're your friends. Just remember that. So yeah. But anyway, Academic Mayhem in just 2 or 3 sentences. It's a coming-of-age story from Octavian, where he goes from a 26-year-old dragon to about a 27-year-old dragon who's actually proclaimed a god, an outright worshipped god. And it's also the story of many people at the Game Masters University. I find it finally fleshed it out. Of course, all of my books have 2 named titles. Patty Holstered and I planned this out from the beginning. But originally, the unofficial title for book 4 was the Game Masters University Freshman Student Handbook. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And one last thing about Academic Mayhem. In all of my books, it was pointed out to me during the first 3. In all of my books, until Academic Mayhem, I never had a dungeon crawl. What's a dungeon crawl? A dungeon crawl is when a group of adventurers get together for a cause or a quest and then explore a dungeon, going down hallways, setting off traps and fighting monsters. Of course, the quest in Academic Mayhem, gosh darn those 7-year-old kids. Ooh, look, there's an abandoned mine shaft we never saw before. Ooh, let's explore it. Of course, one of the kids gets nabbed. So the grandfather, who's coming out of retirement, he's like, oh God, I got to hire adventurers. So the quest is to rescue the 7-year-old granddaughter. But anyway, yes. So Academic Mayhem. I have the Game Masters University. I have Octavian's story. I have a genuine dungeon crawl that dominates the book through the first third of the book, and then I have a titanic cosmic battle between the Game Masters University and the 9 Hells dimensional plane. So I accomplish a lot in academic mayhem.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting run to see, how book 5 comes out, though.
Okay, now let's talk book 5. Books 1 through 4 were designed. The idea was ages 12 and up. This way, so young people could actually read my books and get into them, but not too young.
Mm-hmm.
I raised some social issues. I mean, elves and humans mating. Oh my God, what's the world coming to? That evil miscegenation stuff. I mean, well, I also have some intense battle scenes. Now, this new series is actually going to be for ages 14 and up. I actually have some sex in them. They're not erotica, but they're realistic. When you're showing the development of heroes, the new series is called Palamaran Heroes and Legends. Excuse me, Dragonlance Heroes and Legends. My book is Palamaran Legends and Heroes. Duh, I'm sorry. The idea is, many people have said, oh, I love this character. I'd love to see a biography of how this character develops. That's what this new series is going to be about. Now, my publisher has been after me to do a biography on Dr. Andrew Newmell. Anyone familiar with my books will know he is the spy master for the Imperial Palamaran Secret Service. And the age-old saying, one does not want to get pissed on by the government. So instead of Palamaran Imperial Secret Service, it's Imperial Palamaran Secret Service. Now, Dr. Andrew Newmell, he would simply say, I'm just a simple gardener. I grow all of my poison, my healing herbs and antidotes in the garden of the Imperial Palace. I'm not a spy master. I'm just a gardener. But anyway, you can see how this would open up into a lot of possibilities. So to humor my publisher, book 6, and I mean this, book 6. I've already got 8 chapters done in draft. Book 6 is going to be called Twisted Timeline, and it's going to be instead of Dr. Newmell, the benevolent elderly guy that always seems to have the good idea, the right idea whenever somebody needs something. No, now in book 7, he's going to be a young, hotshot, full of juice teenager who can't keep his pants up and always seems to get into trouble. And well, anyway, okay, but back to book 5. Book 5 could even be called a prequel to books 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's 2,500 years before book 1. It's in another continent. But guess what? The principal evil antagonist, one of them, is Kildaria's Sharpclaw, the ancient purple dragon. Why? Well, gosh, she's 22,000 years old in Pivotal Ruckus and Academic Mayhem. Well, gee, we're only going back 2,500 years. She's got much more of an edge to her now in book 5. She's the principal antagonist. She hasn't fallen in love yet. So she's very I want something. You have what I want. You're gonna die.
She's sowing her dragon oats, Yeah.
So, and I'm not spoiling anything, but it's kind of funny. If you look, book 1, my appendix, it has the year and the day that Kildaria's Sharpclaw fights Frederick Firestorm to seize control of the Western Forsaken Island 2,500 years ago. And then if you read all this carefully, and then you read book 5, what happens with Kildaria's Sharpclaw? Gee, she somehow ends up heading for the Forsaken Islands. What a surprise! It all locks together. And what's really fun about book 5, Patty, my publisher, is nervous. She's like, John, you're really trying romance. And I'm like, well, yeah. But I think I've got a wonderful romantic adventure. It's full of adventure. It's full of D&D. It puts an anti-paladin doing something paladin-like, sneaking into a dragon's den to rescue her love. It's got a paladin who starts doing anti-paladin things. Oh God, I got a plot to deal with this corrupt duke, and I've got, So what's really funny is, Book 5 is based on the most unlikely, impossible love affair you could imagine. Two strong, vital people. Sir Carlton Lucullus Rutherford, a handsome, dashing, heroic paladin, loves lawful good, very self-righteous, and oh yes, I value life, and I'm chivalrous and noble, and always trying to do the right thing. And Tsarina Lydia Jalen Sukharova, a wicked, evil, amoral, life-taking, murderous, bloodthirsty, and incredibly deliciously sexy, gorgeous anti-paladin. Can you imagine a paladin and an anti-paladin falling in hopeless love?
The heart wants
yes.
what the heart wants.
Well, I put it this way. One of my favorite singers, not my favorite, but one of my favorite from the 80s, Paula Abdul. Mm-hmm. Opposites attract.
Yeah.
Anyway, this romance is as unlikely. Forgive the metaphor. This romance of a paladin and an anti-paladin falling in love is as unlikely as impossible, as inconceivable as Hitler eloping with Moses. That would never happen. No, impossible. I think I've got a good story here, and I can't wait to have it come out in September. I'm hoping if Unexpected Entanglements, and yes, I got to tell you the origin of how I came up with this book. It's so funny. Reckless Ambition was just came out that summer in August of 2015. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with one of my executive board members, PALC executive board members, John McDougall, probably one of my dearest friends here in Phoenix. Anyway, John McDougall and I were just talking and having fun one August evening in 2015. And I was telling him about all these books I wanted to write. And I think I came up with the idea of a romance between a paladin and an anti-paladin. But John McDougall and I, in 2 hours, just sitting in his living room, watching movies and just chatting, in 2 hours, we came up with the entire plot for Book 5, Unexpected Entanglements.
Oh, wow.
In 2 hours, we came up with the whole thing. I took notes, I filed them away, and I said, "This will be a book eventually." and I'm dedicating Book 5, Unexpected Entanglements, solely to John McDougall, as he has been a tremendous. He's been a wonderful friend, a tremendous inspiration, and like I say, he actually helped me get my marketing company started up. So, again, I owe him a great deal. The only reason I did not dedicate one of my earlier books to him was because I knew that Unexpected Entanglements would come out eventually. Mm-hmm. And where did I get the title for Unexpected Entanglements? Well, John McDougall and I, we both love H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu books and Cthulhu stories, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're familiar with Cthulhu, right?
I am very fond of the Cthulhu mythos.
Well, what would be better for a paladin and an anti-paladin to get entangled with each other, and unexpected entanglements. I think of the old Cthulhu stories where you got all these tentacles coming out to wrap themselves around the pretty girl. Ooh. Yeah, dare I even mention anime, or hentai, or so the unexpected entanglements. I came up with that title, but again, since I know John McDougall enjoys Cthulhu, it just fit that it would be the title for the book that he and I together created in 2 hours and in an evening in August of 2015.
And hey, think about it. As someone who likes to GM evil player groups, the old ones make a great foil for an evil character to do good things.
Absolutely.
Because the Cthulhu mythos is nobody wants them to win. It's bad for everybody.
Right. Exactly. In academic mayhem, I have a lot of deities hanging out in the astral plane arguing, and I listed like 20 different evil deities arguing with all of these good and neutral deities, right? I listed there Hashter the unsayable, not the unspeakable. That's a copyright issue. Hashter the unsayable. Like anyone reading that would be like, oh, okay, there's a Cthulhu, reference. But, okay.
It's like the first time anyone reads a Lovecraft book, you're like, how do you pronounce that?
Yes. Yeah. Cthulhu, Hashter, we could name many others. Oh yeah. Gosh. Anyway, I'm very excited, Jim. I've got so much coming up. After book 5, I'll have book 6, Twisted Timeline, the history of Dr. Andrew Newmole and how he became what he became, and that's book 6. Book 7. I'm going to keep a promise to to 5 or 6 of my D&D players who played in my Palamar game just only a year or 2 ago. The whole campaign was built around a mine. The first dungeon crawl the players went into was an abandoned mine, and the joke was it seemed after they cleared out the mine of all the monsters, so they thought. Bum 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 bum. The joke was almost every week hey look, we did discover silver. Great, let's start mining it. Hey, look, we discovered gold. Hey, great, let's start mining it. Hey, look, we discovered platinum. Hey, great, let's mine it. Oh, hey, look, we discovered adamantine. Good for making magical weapons. Ooh, let's mine it. The idea is that almost every month, as they developed their mine, another rare commodity would suddenly be discovered in there. And it'd be like, holy crap, guys, we have to keep this a secret. And secrets have a way of getting out. So within about 3 months, you've got Palamar and 9 of the 11 city-states in the whole southern continent. They're all sending armies to where the mine is. It's like, we want our cut. And my adventurers are like, no, no, this is ours. Go away. And of course, while they're doing the mining, oh my God, they accidentally break into the bedroom of another ancient dragon. Quillen. And Quillen's pretty upset. He's like, you guys wrecked my bedroom. So anyway, the title for this book, for book 7, is going to be Minor Catastrophe. but the idea is, instead of minor, MINOR, it'll have little quotes around it, MINER, minor catastrophes. Okay? And guess what? Not only was Patty Holston dying for me to do a biography of Dr. Andrew Newmole, hence book 6, she also wants me to do book 8. She says, and I have to believe her, she's the expert, and she is, that paranormal westerns, westerns with sheriffs, cowboys, Indians, and bad guys, and out in the frontier. All of a sudden, they're dealing with crazy monsters, like werewolves, vampires, all this stuff. She says, and I believe her, that paranormal westerns seem to be very popular now. They seem to walk right off of shelves. So I'm developing book 8. Book 8 is going to be entitled Crossed Targets, and it's going to be a paranormal western, and I will sum up the entire plot for you with one sentence. Eventually in this book, my sheriff, former Confederate soldier, all that fun stuff, my sheriff of the town is going to be surrounded by an angry mob of Protestants ready to lynch him and his girlfriend. And what does the sheriff say to all of them? How the heck, blankety blank, 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 was I to know that my girlfriend was a succubus?
So it's definitely a Weird West.
Right. So, okay. Yes, I seem to have succubi in every book. Oh, shoot me. I'm the author.
Hey, they're a great thing to use.
and wait, here's the funny part. No, only Patty and Laura have noticed this. In book 4, in book 1, I have four succubi. Leela Metrocala, the principal antagonist. You've got Atalanta, Trisha, and Circe. All in book 1. They all had parts in book 1. Though Atalanta, Circe, and Trisha, they're very small parts in book 1, but they are there. Okay, all right. Book 2, Capricious Deities. Atalanta steps forward, and she's in book 2 and book 3. Okay. In book 4, Circe and Trisha appear again, and they're running around. Actually, in book 3, Circe and Trisha appear again, running around with Atalanta. Okay. Now, guess what? Atalanta, her plot line is resolved in book 3. Leela, of course, is killed off in book 1, so she comes back in book 6, Twisted Timeline, but that's another story. Basically, Twisted Timeline is going to be exactly that, timeline disruption.
Oh, no.
The Devils realize, hey, we might not lose this war with Game Masters University in book 4 if we send we get Leela Metrocala to kill Andrew Newell when he's young. But okay, anyway, but that's right. Okay, anyway, but I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. My point is, all of my original succubi have had parts and have appeared in different books for different reasons. The one that I have done the least with, all right, Trisha. Trisha is going to get bored, and at the very beginning of my Western, she's going to get bored and say, you know what? Look at all these dimensional portals here in the astral plane. I'm going to pick one and just go through it and see where I end up. And she ends up in Arizona, circa 1870.
That's a perfect tie-in.
And guess what? She becomes a hostess and a tavern, a shift manager at a tavern, and she gets involved with the local sheriff. And again, the one line, blankety blank was I supposed to know that my girlfriend was a succubus? And of course, I've got a great plan for the Western. Yes, I'll have Native Americans. Yes, I'll have Chinese. Yes, I'll have former slaves, particularly from the Caribbean. And yes, I'm even going to have a group of Irish. And yes, I'm going to have a group of angry Protestants. And guess what? All of these cultures, all of them, they have their own variant of a succubus.
That's true. That is a thing that is universal across the world.
Yeah, go to Wikipedia, look up succubi. Would you believe there are over 50 different types of critters or creatures all over the world? Of course, they have different names. I can't even pronounce the Japanese name, but their succubi can actually turn into foxes.
The kitsune.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. You could pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it. Well, guess what? When my Sheriff Brody is in chapter 2, when he's walking, having a nice romantic picnic with his succubus lady love, Trisha, and they're like, gee, what's that fox doing? It seems to be following us.
A fox is never a fox.
But anyway, so yeah, again, I'm having great fun. All of my books, whatever I do, all of them will tie together, but they are all separate stories. This is something I'm so proud of, Jim. All of my books, you could pick up book 4, and without reading any of the others, you could read book 4 and say, wow, this is great, and get a good story out of it.
Yeah, and you explain well enough that you could hit the floor running with any one of the books and have a great experience.
Yes.
Now, it's always better if you get the first book, but that is one of the good things that, the way you write, your style lets you literally hit the ground running with any one of the books, and you get the whole story.
Right. And I'm very proud of that, Jim. If I'm to be remembered, and that's why I write books in the first place. Bear with me a second. Jim, are you into family history?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me what your ancestors did 200 years ago?
Not really, other than half of them were in Ireland and the other half in Germany.
200 years ago, half of them were actually in Iowa territory and were farmers. The other half were in Germany and England. But I'd have trouble telling you what they did for a living, who they were. You got to write all this stuff down. My point is this: why do I write books? 500 years from now, or maybe 1,000 years, or maybe even 10,000 years from now, when everything I've ever done, everything I've ever known, everything I've ever tried to accomplish in life is dead and forgotten, centuries, millennia, like by my nearest and dearest. Mm-hmm. Some poor graduate student is going to be running around the Library of Congress or one of the other libraries where my books have been, and they'll be recataloging the old books, and they're going to come across my books. They're going to look at them and say, wow, these covers look pretty cool. Now, that graduate student, he might not read them. He might just look at all 4 of them and say, ooh, nice covers, look cool, and then he'll just put them away. But for that instantaneous millisecond, I will live again.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That for even if it's just for 2 days of him reading the book, you will be immortalized in your writing.
Right. And even if he doesn't read them, even if he just holds them in his hand for like a minute and a half and puts them away and catalogs them, I live. I exist. I'm noticed. Hey, he's a writer. That's why I write books. Writing books, Jim, is the path to immortality.
And it is a beautiful way to leave your mark, too. I mean.
Yes. I'm not killing anyone. I'm not ending up in prison. I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to do. I'm like, writing books. Ooh, I think these are good stories. Read them. What do you think? By the way, Jim, I'm going to put you really on the spot here, and please forgive me. I know you've read book 1. Have you read all 4 of my books so far?
I have not read book 4 yet.
That's
the one that I still needed to pick up, but I didn't go to Phoenix Comic-Con this year, so I couldn't pick it up from you.
Well, here's what I can do. I can mail you a copy. I could even send you a PDF file. I have PDF files of all of my books. I wish I could get money from you, but I want you to read book 4. So you want me to mail you a copy of Academic Mayhem over the next week or 2? Or do you just want me to, do you prefer the PDF file format? You can read it on your computer.
Actually, I could always just pick up because it is on Kindle on Amazon, so I could always just pick it up for my Fire. So I could always just do it that way. I'm a fan of Dead Tree. I just like actually having the physical book myself. Even though I've got e-readers, I still like the actual book.
And me too. And I'm going to get in real trouble here. I love Stan Lee, the Marvel Universe. We all know who Stan Lee is. Mm-hmm. And he said a marvelous quote that I will remember for the rest of my life. Somebody asked him once, aren't you afraid that with all these comic books appearing on the internet and in computers, that someday people won't make regular comic books that you buy at a store and you can read yourself, like, and you know what Stan Lee said? You know what he replied? Do you know the quote?
No.
He said,
I think I know the quote you're talking about.
He said, and I'll never forget it. He said, comic books are like boobs. They look great. They look great on a computer screen, but everybody prefers holding them in their hands. The same thing could be said about books.
Which it's true. I remember that when it was Dirty Old Man Stan, coming out with that one.
And I hope I didn't just wreck the PG rating of this
No.
podcast.
We always label everything adult unless we know for a fact we didn't lose our minds for a few minutes, which usually we do.
Okay. Well, by the way, don't let me forget. Please send me your mailing address, and within a week or two, I'll send you an autographed copy of Academic Mayhem. And then the next time I see you, if we both remember, you can hand me $15, which is still 25% off the cover price.
Okay.
Okay. What do you want to talk about next?
Is there any chance, because I've asked you this on the Facebook page a couple times, that we're going to see D&D stats for some of your characters? That's a great idea. When I take a person's character, like Laura Thompson, her character was Ivanova Skalorid, the cleric of Epona Twilight. She's in books 1, 2, and 3, and she makes an appearance in book 4. Or whenever I take somebody's character, I always borrow the character sheet. I Xerox it, so I have all the stats. And yes, I just need to collect them all together and type it all out so it makes a little more sense. Mm-hmm. And I want to do that. And good heavens, let's see. Of all the characters in my books, I would say at least a fourth of them were either characters that I played, or friends played, or players played, or they were changed, or I combined two characters, or I changed a few things. But yeah, at least a fourth of my characters have a tie-in with D&D and 45 years of me playing Dungeons and Dragons. So, yes, we will see that. I just need to get off my lazy butt, stop writing books, and get all the stats together. Because, I'm just thinking, like, in the early 80s, how you had the Marvel encyclopedias, where you just had all the characters. I just think that would be awesome for your book series if the characters were there.
Yeah.
Just as an exercise, if nothing else.
Yeah, and it's really funny. People have been after me to do a Palamaran pantheon. See, I already have 15 or 16 deities, mm-hmm. and they want me to do like deities and demigods. And here's a little secret for you. Steve Crompton, my map maker. Mm-hmm. He has the northern continent. If you remember from book 3, the big invasion from the northern continent with the huge humanoid fleet attacking the Forsaken Islands, guess what? I have the northern continent. I just don't have it in, like the black, white, and, Steve is working on the northern continent for me right now. And here's another secret. Chris Ennett and David Delante, they are working now on the cover for book 5. Oh, I can't wait. I'd love to tell you what we have in mind, but I've learned long since. It builds suspense, and it gets everybody excited if I unveil the cover at the book premiere on September 28th. Yes, we're excited, but I'll also be unveiling the Western continent. We have that all set and ready to go, and Steve Crompton now is working on the Northern continent for me. Once we have all the continents done, Steve is going to help me. We're going to put all 3 continents together in a Palamaran world map. Now, none of this includes the Underdark. I mean, the underworld of all these continents, of course. With the drow and everything else, but at least the surface of the globe will be ready.
After all, Underdark is hard because, you've the curve of the earth, the way that things go.
And then all the three-dimensional levels. I mean, like level 6 can actually be higher than level 7, or of course it usually, but you know what I mean, the 3D part of it.
Exactly, all the chutes and ladders,
Right, exactly. What did I mean? I meant level 6 could be lower than level 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, yes, I'm very excited. I'm very excited, Jim, because I've done everything I can to put so much depth,
Mm-hmm.
history, politics, sensible reality. People ask me the scale of my maps. Well, a horse can generally ride 36 miles a day without really hurting itself. Yes, it would be going pretty fast, about as fast as it could go through a normal day,
Mm-hmm.
sunrise to sunset, or maybe an hour or two after sunset. But then, yeah, if I impose a hexagonal grid on all of my, if I impose a hexagonal grid on all of my maps, that would be like, okay, each hexagon would be like 36 miles. Kind of like the original World of Greyhawk, if anyone remembers that.
Yep. And the map would just go on and on and on.
Right. Now, the Palamaran planet, believe me, it's in a galaxy just like ours. So we've got millions of other habitable planets. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I might even do. Someone actually suggested to me I do a science fiction story, and yes, the science fiction planets would be like, 70,000 light years from Palomar, but it'd still be in the same galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, I'm afraid to do a science fiction show. Science fiction book. And let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you why. I love science fiction. I had the privilege of regularly meeting Isaac Asimov because my grandfather was one of his best friends, and they actually had lunch once a week in New York City for like 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, I love Dune. I love Frank Herbert. I can't wait for the new Dune movie to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. I love Firefly. I love all these things. That's the problem. If I ever started to write a science fiction book, everybody reading it would be like, oh, he got that from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. Oh, he got that from Dune. Oh, he got that from Firefly. Oh, he got that from the Foundation trilogy. Oh, he got that from I mean,
That's very
I
true. It's a hard genre to write for, without feeling like you have that imposter syndrome kicking in of this. I see that this has been done before somewhere. I just can't place it. And,
and
and
that's why for Fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons, you can borrow anything from anywhere and find a way to put it in.
mm-hmm. That's why fantasy is such a great loosey goosey genre that you can make anything work.
And that's part of the problem. Every dog and his brother is writing fantasy books now. Everybody in the United States, every fantasy writer in the United States wants to be the new J.K. Rowling. And people ask me this all the time, Jim. John, do you want to be like J.R.R. Tolkien or C.S. Lewis? And you know what my answer is? Hell no. And then they all scratch their heads and they say, well, why not? I'm like, C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, they have made far more money, much more money dead than alive. I mean, their estates are like multi-million dollars now.
But they ain't getting to enjoy that.
Right. Now, I want to be like J.K. Rowling. I want to be alive to enjoy my millions, right?
Enjoy the fandom, enjoy the celebrity.
Right. I want to be invited as a guest to some of these conventions rather than me calling up some volunteer person and say, oh, hi, can I please have a table? Those are my own dreams. But my point is, I don't want to have to die for my books to finally take off and become famous. So I hope and pray I'll be alive to enjoy my millions like J.K. Rowling. Yes, this is funny. I'll live with the idea that maybe I'll end up like Tolkien or Lewis, where my books will be oh yeah, they're good while I'm alive, and then when I'm dead, oh wow, they're great. Let's make movies out of it. I would live with that outcome. Quotes around live, but I really want to be J.K. Rowling, where I can buy my own private island and anyway, okay, okay, I'm babbling now. I'm just babbling.
Or more
Tim,
importantly, have time to run games and enjoy more games, and actually be free to write on your own schedule as opposed to around we all have that
yes,
9 to 5 schedule we got to work around.
yep, oh yeah. In my case right now, 10:30 to 7. Yeah, but at least I'm working in the daytime, so
Yep.
at least it's not 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. anymore. Thank God.
Yeah,
I'm out of that.
it's
But
way
yeah,
better
but
to
yeah,
go with shift.
right. And,
Aside from PalamarAdventures.com, which is your main site, where else can
yep.
folks find you online?
Okay, the best place to find me is on Amazon.
Okay.
If you go to Amazon.com and go to the books department, this is where they list everything. They have DVDs, movies, all the stuff, all the departments they have. If you go to the books department and just type in my full name, John Paul Ried, and I was going to razz you about this, Jim. If you notice in the link where you have for all of my podcasts, the link you sent me.
I have it spelled like the Reed at my park in town, not your Reed. Yeah.
Right. It's still, yeah. I mean, don't worry. Everybody misspells my last name. My last name is Ried.
Mm-hmm.
I before E, except after C. so it's German, and in German you always pronounce the second vowel. So hence why Stein is Stein and Reed is Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so anyway, but yes, if you just go to Amazon.com, go to books department, and just type in my name, John Paul Ried, Ried. You'll find everything. You'll find my books in paperback, in Kindle, and you can also find me on Facebook. I've been playing around with groups and fan pages and pages. I'm still not quite sure what the difference is between pages and book and groups, but I've been playing around with them. I have a page for my company, and I have another page for book one, and now I have a fan group. And thank you, James, for visiting and joining. And hey, everybody, join my fan group. It literally is entitled Enlightened Readers of Palamar. So anyone who's read my books, if you have a Facebook account, you can join this, and you can talk about all the stuff going on in my books. Who's your favorite character? What are Tom Medford's stats? What are, what I mean, all the things you could argue and talk about. I mean, yeah, I'm excited about that. But yes, Amazon, my own website, and Facebook. And where else can you find my stuff? Goodreads. Are you familiar with Goodreads, Jim?
I am familiar with Goodreads. It's a great website where you can share awesome books with your friends.
And I'm embarrassed. They have books 1 through 3. I think they're finally getting book 4 up on Goodreads. I need to talk to Patty about that. Yes, Goodreads. You can find my books there too. And like I say, I'm just excited. Book 5, Unexpected Entanglements, will be out in September 2019. Book 6, Twisted Timeline, should be out in 2020. I'm hoping before June, but it'll probably be more like September. Patty is right. She has a lot of authors she needs to take care of. Yes, my books sell tremendously well, but she has to take care of all of her authors. So everybody has a turn, so I accept that, she just can't put out my books when I write them. I have to wait. And, but yes, Twisted Timeline will be out in 2020. My book 7, Minor Catastrophes, that'll be out either at the end of 2020 or more likely 2021, and then my Cross Targets will be out in 2022. Now, here's the beauty of all this, James. With 45 years and growing of playing Dungeons and Dragons, I have endless ideas for stories, for books. I plan to do a book a year until I die, which I hope is a long time off.
I hope it's many, 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 many books.
I'd love it. Book 100, the final story. And there's John Reed lying in his bed, gasped, he's dead.
Rosebud.
But all joking aside, I love writing. I'm having a blast doing it, and as long as Patty Holstrom is willing to help me Patty Holstrom, Steve Crompton, Chris Ennett, and David Delante. Of course, I pay all these people. But yeah, my point is, as long as they're willing to keep helping me and helping me with my books, I'm going to try to keep writing. And book 5 is actually going to be book 1 of a new series, which I project at least 4, possibly more. And that's the fun part. Books 6 and 7 will be the new series, but I can always go back to the Medford Family Chronicles anytime and just press the head forward. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it does give you a lot of freedom that you now have different sandboxes to play in.
Yes. Who knows? I might bring in a sci-fi subplot where I used to play a game called Traveler and another game called Space Opera. Basically like what they call Starfinder now. It's basically sci-fi, but like D&D. My friends, we had our spaceship named the Millennium Pigeon. So I thought of the perfect name for a spaceship. Ready? The Serenity Falcon.
It hits so many feels all at the same time.
Yeah, the Serenity Falcon. Anyway, my point being that in a future book, no pun intended, I might have a sci-fi subplot where a spaceship accidentally crashes in Palamar somewhere, and it's like, oh crap, Area 51, only like 8 miles from Paladon City, or something like that.
Then something will have to be done about this.
And I can see a crown prince looking at a rival. Hey, do you know where I found this? This is called a laser gun. And, sorry, okay, or a phaser, or excuse me, a blaster. Or ooh, this is a light sword. I'm getting silly now, but this is how I write my books. This is how
This is how the inspiration happens.
Yeah, two guys sitting on a summer evening in August 2015 in just 2 hours came up with my plot for book 5. I mean, yeah, really, from start to finish. I mean, everything we talked about is in book 5. And I can't wait to get the baboons out. No one knows what I'm talking about except my players in my last couple of D&D campaigns. Let's just say I have a lot of fun with baboons. Mutant baboons that have been experimented on by crazy wizards and mad scientists.
As they do.
Yeah. In book 5, we have a wonderful 7-foot-tall baboon who walks around sucking his thumb with a T-shirt that has on the T-shirt Hairy Fang, and he actually has a little knapsack with books entitled My First Reader. but oh boy, watch out! Don't get him angry. I mean, do you realize that in real life, 30 baboons can destroy, dismember, literally rip and tear and destroy one of our most modern tanks, one of our most modern military tanks. So try to imagine 30 or more 7-foot-tall baboons. And I say this in book 5. Baboons don't fight; they shred. What does that mean? Fighting takes a lot of training, a lot of strategy, a lot of blow, counter blow, and counter blow, and a lot of practice honing your skills, right? None of that matters to baboons. When they get angry, they shred until they're dead.
It makes me think of that scene from Hatari when they're trying to catch the baboons. And, the gentleman pocket says they have teeth this big, and immediately everyone starts rushing to make some kind of body armor to protect themselves while they capture them. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not nice.
And oh boy, you're gonna love the Sir Carlton monkey charge at the end of book 5. Anyway, so anyway, okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but
Okay.
I'm just saying that I'm having a blast. I'm delighted and thrilled to share my books with anyone. Now, you know what? So many people are just been wonderful with my books. It's amazing. I'll be depressed. I'll be sad. I'll be walking in a supermarket somewhere. Oh, no one's reading my books. Why do I bother sometimes? Suddenly somebody comes running up. You're John Ried, right? I'm like, yeah, I loved book 1 or book 2. And oh, this was great. And, all of a sudden I'm inspired again.
Mhm.
Only once did I ever hear from a friend that they lent my books to someone and they hated them? They thought they were terrible. They were actually, the person was actually mad at my friend for foisting book 1 on them. Well,
Wow.
And you know what? Last I heard, that reader with bad taste was being evaluated for being committed to an insane asylum. So I don't feel so bad anymore. But anyway, my whole point is that I'm honored and thrilled to share with everybody my D&D fun over literally decades of playing the game. And I hope to continue to do this.
Well, see, I definitely hope you keep doing it.
Yeah. Is this the place to stop, or have I forgotten anything?
Oh, no. This is probably a good time to stop because it is getting a little bit on the late side, I think, for both of us. So is there anything in closing that you'd like to say?
Well, Jim. I should get used to saying Jim. I just always say James. Jim, I want to thank you again I am eternally indebted to you for helping me promote my books, for doing these podcasts, for indulging me and letting me talk. I mean, that's always dangerous. But I want to thank you. I'm eternally grateful for all of your assistance, for all of your help. And good heavens, I'm ready to do it again tomorrow night. But yeah, but again, Jim, thrilled and honored to know you. I can't wait to see you again. I hope we can get together for a meal sometime, either in Tucson or either in Phoenix or, gosh, even in Las Vegas. Ever think of going to amazing Las Vegas?
I would, except usually my work has got me so tight on time off that's usually not an option for taking it off.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah.
This year I'm still stressing just to get all of the conventions coming up in August and October and November off this year. I still got a couple of those that I might miss one of the nights of the convention, which that will break my heart if I do. But I'm hoping to make all the conventions so far.
Well, you know, Jim, you could always just call in sick. I mean, oh God,
Sadly, I do have a lot of coworkers who go to the same conventions as me as well. Which doesn't help.
Right. I love conventions too. They're just so much fun. Everything about them. There literally is like convention time or a zone where everybody gets into it, and suddenly everybody's running around doing crazy stuff they never thought they would, and it's just a blast.
And then you make new friends, and hey, it's just like that first Tucson Comic-Con when I met you. You make lifelong friends at the convention, and you get to do fun things and meet new people.
That's right. Absolutely, Jim. Absolutely. And good heavens, hope and pray the best for you. And thank you very much for your time. And I would say to everybody, keep playing D&D or whatever role-playing games you play. Keep playing them.
Heck yeah! Whatever is your fandom, play it, love it, and share with the world.
And his Imperial Katniss Majesty Enlil just came back inside. He's like, okay, I'm hot now. I want to come into the air conditioning. So he's now inside now. So, hey, thank you again, Jim. I always remember what Gary Gygax used to say. Please don't tell the game masters they really don't need any rules. All right. Take care, Jim. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition, and Scion, Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.
On the battlefield, I'm a warrior, ready to kill or be killed. I've defeated orcs from the north, sent Kandorian demon spawns back to the depths, and drank with Cimmerian heroes. But when I get back from a hard day of disemboweling my enemies, I enjoy nothing more than to open my castle doors and find a dungeon crate as my reward for blood well spilled. Designed for role players and tabletop gamers, Dungeon Crate is a monthly subscription box service with a treasure hoard of loot you can use on or off the battlefield. Miniatures, dice, tokens, coins, maps, modules, terrain pieces, handcrafted items, RPG jewelry, and more are yours for only a few gold per month. You even get a digital crate along with a physical one as an added bonus. So what say you? Are you ready for postal glory? Oh boy. DungeonCrate.com. Let the adventure begin!